maybe these are some things you can grab at home. So we have about almost half of the votes in. Give it another few seconds. Okay, so who was the 2017 keynote? It was Sir Ken Robinson. So those of you who chose Sir Ken Robinson, that is correct. And the best snack between sessions is obviously M&Ms. Coffee would be a close second, but yes. Thank you all for participating. And with that, we are going to transition to our second presentation using instructor-led mini lectures to increase social presence and online engagement. So now we will transition to them. Thank you.
All right, good morning. I hope everybody can hear me. We will be using Poll Everywhere during this presentation. And I think my co-presenter, Marianne, is getting that slide up for you now. When that slide comes up, it'll have instructions on how to sign up via text, how to start the text for Poll Everywhere. And of course, if you have questions, you can type them in the Q&A panel and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. We are going to talk to you about a series of online mini lecture videos that were created as a result of a partnership between myself, Megan Owens, and Marianne Mengel at the Center for Learning and Teaching at Penn State Berks. We had several goals with creating these online mini lecture videos. So two primary ones were to increase social presence and online engagement. And you can now see the screen shared here. And so you'll just need to text PSU Berks CLT to 37607. And then we will have some Poll Everywhere questions for you as we proceed. And Marianne, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
There we go. Now
okay, sorry. So today we'd like to share the impetus for our project, and we'll highlight some research related to the design of instructor-created videos. We'll explain our process for creating a series of videos, and we'll show you highlights of the videos that we created for an online Human Development and Family Studies course. We'll also share feedback from students and plans for our next steps.
So this all started with a big question that I often think about as a professor. So we'd like to begin by posing that question to you. And here you can see that, that Poll Everywhere information again. So the question is, what are the primary factors that contribute to student learning? And you just need to text PSU Berks CLT to 37607 to join, and then text your message. And so I see some of our participants have already responded. Things like student motivation, prior knowledge, the overall environment, their willingness or their engagement in the class are all things that contribute to student learning. So let me go ahead and tell you a bit of my personal answer to that question. So of course, I think there's so many, like we were seeing on that exploding word cloud on the previous slide, things like motivation, engaging content, experiential learning. But I believe that relationships are a key way we all learn, including college students. So when I decided to teach a fully online course in the summer, I wanted to figure out some ways to increase my connection to the students and my presence in the course so they could learn through their relationship with me and with one another.
So we began our collaboration in spring of 2019 to create a series of instructional videos for an online summer course that ran last summer. And we started by reviewing the course's learning objectives and considering Megan's goals related to instructor presence. My interest in this project centers around how the design considerations impact the effective presentation of content, students' learning, and their sense of engagement. So for instance, how does the placement of the instructor in the video frame impact what students look at, and does that have a bearing on what they remember? Does the instructor's image contribute to a sense of social connectedness in an online course? Or does the image of the instructor interfere with students' ability to pay attention to concepts? Can imagery assist learners in making connections to prior experiences and help them retain material in long-term memory? And because the subject matter of this particular course is largely something that most people can identify with, does activating personal memories and emotion through imagery help students to identify with and then remember concepts? So as we settled on a workflow and a plan which brought together each of our skill sets, we began to ask ourselves these questions. And those questions prompted a lit review and research, which is currently in progress. And today we're going to share some tidbits of what we've been discovering and considering.
So as an instructor, I had the goal of using instructor presence to increase social capital in the course. I'm trained as a counseling psychologist, and we have this concept called the person of the therapist, which in essence highlights that it's important for the therapist to be themselves and for their clients to be able to connect authentically with them. It means that we remember that therapy is in essence a human-to-human interaction. And I think that that parallels really well. And I have a parallel concept, the person of the professor, because I watch my students become more engaged when I can integrate personal experience into my lectures. So this is what was interesting to me about creating videos, which included a strong component of professor presence. In a fully online course, I wanted the students to get to know me as they would in a face-to-face course. Previous research on the impact of professors and videos was mixed. Some research found that the professor was distracting, or that it didn't contribute to higher scores on quizzes. And so I wondered if that could be different in two key ways in this course. One, what about a course that is less math and science concept focused, like this human development and family studies course? And two, what if the important outcome variable wasn't necessarily quiz scores, but the student's sense of connection with the professor, which might lead to things like engagement and motivation in the course? Prior to creating these online mini lecture videos, I was somewhat familiar with research about the use of professor lecturettes in online courses. And some of the basics that framed my understanding were: one, duration. Research shows that student viewing students watch brief lecturettes, ideally 5 to 7 minutes to completion, whereas their attention wavers in longer ones. Therefore, I should chunk out my information, like including the results of one major research study per video. Two, tie to the assignment. I've learned through personal experience and through our local workshops that videos which have an explicit tie to a course assignment are watched more diligently and frequently. Therefore, in creating these videos, I knew I was going to use them to give the students some introductory background information on a topic, which they would then have to research further in order to form a discussion post. Three, engaging. I knew the videos needed to be engaging and focus the students' attention. I wanted to present information to students in a format that was familiar to them in our edutainment world. So I wanted students to see me and hear me, as well as be able to follow along with visual cues of what I was discussing.
So in addition to connecting the videos to assignments, we made a variety of visual design decisions related to the video presentation. So we knew that we would include the instructor in the video frame, but we wanted to also include visual prompts to focus learners' attention. So to guide this process, we considered Richard Mayer's well-known principles of multimedia learning. So I'll give you just a few of those. First, the redundancy principle tells us that an exact word-for-word duplication of the narration in text displayed on the screen doesn't actually contribute to learning. People learn better when graphics are combined with the narration, but not when redundant on-screen text duplicates exactly what the narrator said. Now, that doesn't mean that on-screen text is never helpful. Used sparingly, it can focus learners' attention on important concepts. So it's best used when there's no simultaneous graphic or when the text is short, concise blurbs which highlight a concept or specific data or maybe clarifies an unfamiliar term. Along a similar line, the signaling principle tells us that people learn better when visual cues highlight the organization of essential material. And we used visual signaling to direct attention to targeted pieces of content that we wanted learners to process in their working memory. So the signal could be the introduction of an image to or text to the screen, or it could be the movement of something that was already on the screen. But when that visual signal is synchronized with the corresponding words delivered orally, the learners are alerted that something is important and they pay attention. People learn better when a conversational rather than a formal style of speaking is used in instructional videos, and that can help the students develop a social connection to the instructor. So when an instructor creates their own videos, it's evident that the material is for these students in this course, so it feels personalized. If the instructor makes a slight mistake while they narrate, as they might do during the course of a normal classroom lecture, that's okay as long as the information they end up conveying is correct. If the online instructor can be comfortable revealing those slight imperfections in their recorded mini lectures, they may in fact activate that social response, making them more relatable and personable.
As a professor, I love the personalization principle because it means when I say or mispronounce a word and then correct myself, I don't need to re-record my whole video. I am to be human, and I would make these mistakes in a face-to-face course too.
So as we reviewed related studies, we found that we couldn't generalize all of the research on instructor-led videos to our approach. The design decisions and the presentation styles of the videos impacted the results of those studies. So for instance, in some formats, we don't even see the instructor, but we hear them. In others, we see the instructor, but in an inserted frame. Or we see only the instructor in a webcam style video. The type of content and the level of difficulty varied. And some studies were based on recordings of full-length classroom lectures, which would have a quite different result than a study on short mini lectures. So for the videos that were most similar to ours, research indicates that students learn better and are more engaged by video lectures where the instructor makes eye contact with the camera, as opposed to perhaps writing on a whiteboard behind themselves or being too far away for the learners to see their eyes. Not surprisingly, eye contact builds that social connection. Students' sense of social presence in a course and their degree of learning improved as a result of videos where the instructor sometimes gazes in the direction of the on-screen content. So taking it one step further, videos in which the instructor gestures towards on-screen content to guide their learners' attention improved learning, especially when the gesture is synchronized with the narration, and this aligns with Mayer's signaling principle, alerting learners that something is important. And this is something we'd like to look at more closely, exploring that interaction between the instructor's presence on the screen and the on-screen content. So what exactly did we create?
We're going to share a compilation of representative content from the 7 videos we created. So they may feel a bit disjointed as we try to include a variety of examples within this short video clip.
Hello students, in this video we're going to talk about some of the statistics and guidelines about infant and toddler childcare centers. Let's do that future projection thing where you think about yourself as a future parent. What would you do with them in terms of care? Would you utilize a daycare center for your child in between the ages of 0 and 2? Why or why not? Go ahead and pause the video and make a few notes about those questions, whether you would utilize a child care center and how you would decide which one to use. You'll use those notes later for this module's discussion post. Okay, so a lot of people are using it. Not a lot of people are getting high quality care. 60% of moms working, only 25% of centers have high quality care. What about the cost of that care? Well, unfortunately, it's pretty expensive. You will use the information presented in this video for fuel for your discussion post that is a part of this week's module. Close your eyes and envision what their room would look like. What colors would it be? Where would they sleep? What would be in the crib and the bed? Would you have a theme for the room? SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome, and it's defined as death within the first year of life during sleeping when there is no injury or illness. The highest risk factor time for SIDS is from months 2 to 4. During
So now that you've seen a sample of our work, we have another question for you. So what, if anything, prevents you from creating your own instructor-led videos? Now assume that you're back on campus with all of your normal resources and facilities available to you when you answer the question, although there are some similar approaches that you would be able to do from home. So again, if you've already joined our poll, you can just text your response to 37607.
So we're getting lots of responses already. A lot of the same things that were concerning to me when I had this sort of big idea and came and spoke to Marianne about it. Things like the time you might have, or your knowledge of the technology, or your experience, or the necessary equipment. So we asked that question because we'd like to now give you an overview of how we did this.
So we, of course, started by reviewing the learning objectives and the resources available and the timeline we had in front of us, and we planned an approach. Megan created an outline or storyboard for each video topic and uploaded it to a shared box folder. I introduced Megan to our One Button Studio on campus and showed her how to film a video with a green screen background. She recorded at her convenience and uploaded her video clips to our shared box folder.
The process of what I did to create these videos was not at all dissimilar to what I do to prepare for a face-to-face class. From a faculty perspective, it was quite a simple process.
So the technical side of the video editing process was straightforward. I used Adobe Premiere to key out the green screen backgrounds, but iMovie could also do the same thing. Premiere is available at no cost through the university's Adobe Creative Cloud license. The creative and pedagogical decisions that took more consideration and time. So the key concepts and any unfamiliar terminology were identified based on Megan's outlines and her recorded clips. A student worker assisted me with locating some Creative Commons licensed imagery that we could use to visually elaborate on Megan's talking points. And the text and imagery were added in the video editing software with an eye for encouraging personal connections and highlighting topics that were important for students to remember. As a draft of each video was completed, Megan reviewed it and any additional edits were made. The final versions were published to Kaltura, which is Penn State's media management platform, and they were transcribed for closed captioning. And then they were embedded on pages in Megan's Canvas course.
While our approach was thoughtful and research-based, the real test was the perspective of the students in our class. And we had two primary ways of answering that question. One, we used Kaltura Analytics. And two, we obtained an IRB to ask the students both quantitative and qualitative questions about their perspective of the videos. So one basic question is, do the students view the videos and how do they view them? This page shows a screenshot of the Kaltura Analytics for one video in the course. I can see the overall viewing patterns in the class. So I can see that the video was viewed an average, the video was viewed 21 times, which is slightly higher than my enrollment for the course, and that the students viewed it for an average viewing time of 4 minutes and 42 seconds, and the video was about 5.5 minutes. The analytics on individual student data are even more helpful. So this is a screenshot which shows those analytics. This slide shows that I can see how many times an individual student viewed the video, their average viewing time, and then their total viewing time for each video. So it's very helpful when talking to students in a fully online course to have actual metrics of their participation that are distinct from graded elements like quizzes or discussion posts. I can tell you that my top performing students are at the top of this slide you see because they watched the video several times. And now that I run the class once, I can share that feedback with future students as well. Regarding the quantitative questions we asked the students in the study, here are some sample questions and the responses that we received. The majority of our respondents reported that watching the videos made learning easier for them, that they paused to consider things when I asked them to, that they rewound and replayed sections, that the imagery supported their comprehension of what I was speaking about, and that the videos helped them feel a connection to me, to the professor. Regarding student qualitative comments about the videos, here are some comments. And I really did not cherry pick comments here when we asked them. None of the students had anything negative to say about these videos. I'll highlight two comments which really tie in with our original goals for the course. In comment 3, which is in the middle of your screen, the student notes that the videos gave the sense that I was teaching the course rather than it being self-taught. And in comment 5, which is at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, the student highlighted that they've never had lecture videos like this before and that it allowed them to feel like they were sitting in class when they played the video. These comments really highlight the experience Marianne and I wanted the students to have, so we're pretty happy with them.
So what's next for Megan and I in our partnership on this project? We feel that this approach worked particularly well for the topics in this course, but it could be adapted for other disciplines. The tools we used, One Button Studio and Adobe Premiere, are available throughout the university. But aside from online courses, this approach could also be used to create videos for a flipped course or a blended course or for teaching in a remote teaching environment, with the benefit of allowing students to repeatedly review lecture videos.
We were encouraged by the research results and we plan to do two things in the future. One, our response rate for the survey was quite low. Participation was a limit to our research aspect, and we plan to modify the IRB to have students open the survey to earn course credit. And we believe that will result in more students than completing the survey. Two, another assignment in the course requires students to view videos of children to observe key physical, cognitive, and social emotional milestones. However, the publicly available videos are not great. So our current plan is to create some developmental observation videos of myself and my own children for the students to see some of these key milestones like walking, talking, jumping, skipping. Of course, this means I'm willing to use videos of myself and my own children for a course purpose, which is actually something I already do when I run this course in the face-to-face format.
So thank you for letting us share our work with you. And I think that we have just a few minutes where we can take a look at some of the Q&A questions, and maybe Megan and I would be able to answer them. Take a moment. I have to find where these questions from the last session ended.
So one question is, are the analytics automatically captured in Kaltura? Marianne, you might be better for that, but I think so. I just go in and look at them.
Yeah, because Megan has published her videos in the Canvas course, embedded them in the pages, those analytics are available for her, and it's very nice that it shows by student name because of the integration into Canvas. And that's one of the benefits of using Kaltura with Canvas.
There's a question, how long would you say it took the professor to prepare for and capture each short video? And what would you say is the total time per video it took in post-production to edit each short video in Premiere, adding the text and images? So I think I had the way easier job here. So I've already taught the class face-to-face, so I knew what like the little concepts were that I wanted to have on video. The videos were about 5 minutes long. maybe it took me 15 minutes in the One Button Studio once Marianne trained me in how to use it.
Yeah, it probably took me much longer. Well, I know it took me much longer than that. I did have the benefit of a student helping to at least find some imagery to consider. Typically, you can imagine that 1 minute of video could take 1 hour of editing. I think that it might have taken up to 2 in this case, just between, you know, making sure that everything was conveyed exactly as we wanted. And Megan and I worked together on a sort of a partnership that's available, you know, between our Center for Learning and Teaching and faculty at our campus. Let's see, go ahead, Megan.
No, if you see one that's good, that you would like to answer, please go ahead.
I see one, someone asked, how will the works cited be available for the instructor-led mini lecture session? I'm not sure if you mean, at the end of each of our videos, we cited any Creative Commons licensed imagery that we used in the video, so that's included in the video. If you're wondering whether the videos that we shared, if you would like to see the entire videos, if you email one of us, we could possibly make that available for you to take a look at, if that's okay with Megan.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And then a couple of questions about the length of the video and how many videos we created and how we decided. So the length of the videos were all in between 5 and 8 minutes. I think 8 minutes might have been the longest one, right, Marianne? So really just tried to keep them something that the students would hold their attention the whole time. We created, for this first time we ran the class last summer, we created 7 videos. And I specifically chose the concepts. They were key concepts in the course that the students really needed to get, and they were all related to a discussion post. So I looked at, you know, what I was going to use for an assignment where they had to do a little bit of research, and then worked backwards on introducing that in the videos. And you heard in the sample that I allude to those discussion posts every time. You're going to use this information in the discussion post. Pause and take some notes here, that sort of thing. And then they would have to do some additional research and reading, and then formulate the discussion post based on the video.
I see a question, how would this approach work for team teaching or guest lecture? I actually worked on another project with 2 faculty who both teach the same course, and they each created some videos featuring themselves, and they share those amongst themselves. So that could be one approach if there's a team of faculty who teach a course together, or as a group teach the same course. With a guest lecturer, I mean, if you had someone record something in advance, a video of them could be made as well.
I think quite a few questions about the One Button Studio and whether it will be available this summer, and I definitely don't feel qualified to answer that question. No, I think that
right now, I don't think it is. I know that there is something on the Media Commons website, mediacommons.psu.edu, that they posted that talks about ways to sort of do the same thing. I mean, basically, what you need to do this kind of approach is the instructor on the side and some blank space where things could get inserted. The green screen allows those things to kind of seamlessly wrap right behind the instructor, but you could put text and things on a blank wall to the side of yourself. You could insert image frames in that area. So you could achieve a somewhat similar result, just filming at home in front of a blank wall with good lighting and sound and everything.
Well, I hate to cut off the questions. We have great questions here again, and conversations going in the chat. But thank you, Marianne and Megan, for presenting on this to the group here. And if you have time available, you're welcome to stay and continue to answer questions by typing the answers that are in the Q&A. Or if you answered live, you can just mark answered live, and those questions will be moved over to answered. So thank you again. We greatly appreciate your time and effort transitioning this to a virtual environment. And once again, while we give our presenters a minute to transition slides, we will be doing some symposium trivia. And since our next presenter is the 2019 OIC winner, our first poll question has to do with the OIC. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. We have 2 questions again as we give Rodney Allen Trice, our next presenter, some time to transition over. So the first question, what do the letters in OIC stand for? And 2, what is traditionally served at the end of the day at the symposium? So again, we have just about half of our attendees with their responses in. We'll give it a few more seconds.